Welcome again to another edition of Real Talk with Chris, aka the Japanese Cowboy. Yes, we present these podcasts weekly with introducing a lot of top talent, specifically within our Team Freedom group here at eXp Realty, which I'm so blessed and humbled to be a part of. But also just talented people that have great aspirations, great goals, great mindset, forward thinkers who love the entrepreneurial mindset, and just the all-around just good people. And we want those that are listening to this to really accommodate anybody from all walks of life, whether you're just kind of maybe getting your feet wet, thinking about real estate, maybe you're really knee deep in it, or you're in the deep end and you're trying to figure out how not to drown anymore. And hopefully some of these podcasts might be, helpful for you. So this week, we have an amazing guest on. This is Jacqueline Phillips, who is with us, part of our Team Freedom again here at eXp Realty out in Michigan area. And we're super excited because Jacqueline comes with such great energy and just all down, just go get him girl spirit. So we're super excited and blessed to have Jacqueline on the call today. Jacqueline, welcome to the podcast this week.
Thank you so much, Chris. And I just want to say thank you too, not only for the podcast, just for everything that you do for Team Freedom. We really appreciate you. The Tuesday calls have been firing me up. That one with Casey Jihad just a couple weeks ago, I mean, it set the tone for the year. So thank you. I'm really grateful for everything that Team Freedom and you are bringing to us as agents.
I love it. I appreciate it. And thanks for the feedback, because obviously I'm always trying to determine, man, am I doing enough? Boy, am I presenting enough? Do they want more? Like, it's really one of those hang your head against the wall, because you always want to bring value, right, to the team. And so it's like, how do I keep adding that? And then when you bring certain levels of it, it's like, what's next? Like, I got to keep taking this thing up the next ladder. So, it's that. It's really trying to be comprised of both those things. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. And I'm glad ultimately that it's been a powerful thing to you in your life, because that's the point of all of this, right? Is to make that an impact for you guys. So, but thank you again for joining the call. If you don't mind, maybe kind of sharing a little bit, start off with maybe a little bit about who you are and kind of location geographically where you're at, kind of where you got started.
So, I'm in the Metro Detroit area, close to almost to Flint, actually. I'm up in Lapeer County, so I'm about an hour north of Detroit. I'm part of the Blake team. Our office is located right in Rochester. We have about 18 members on the team with our admins. It's great. It's a really conducive to learning. We have a lot of training. We just really love to do the team aspect and work together. As much as I love production, I really love helping to build new agents too. So trying to make sure that they start in the industry with the right foot forward. We already have a reputation of being kind of like the slimy used car salesman feel, where people are already a little bit reluctant to trust us. So if I can teach them how to work with integrity and putting their clients first and try to really change the image of the industry one agent at a time.
I love that. Which honestly, if we go back to talking about that, everybody knows, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast and you are in the real estate industry at all, you know that actually, let's forget about that. Let's just open the doors up to just sales in general, right? You're a salesperson. You can be selling shoes at Nordstrom. You can be selling a car in a car lot. You can be selling
Radio Shack. I was selling cell phones, man.
Right? You can sell a Kirby vacuum cleaner in somebody's home. It's all about the relationships, right? And how do you get the best relationships? You want to gain that know, like, and trust personally, right? You want to get those people who like and trust you. And what you just said, I love it. You are integrating back into people to learn the basics of integrity, of ethics, of culture, of value, all those things that are required to have an amazing relationship, right? And to nurture those. So I'm glad you guys are starting there, because I think a lot of places, honestly, go right to the, here's some Zillow leads, call these 100 leads and get on the phone, right? What are we teaching these real estate agents?
So I will say I was started my career with Keller Williams under Jeff Glover. He was the broker in my office. He bought our brokerage at Great Lakes, and he was very heavy on the lead generation model. And we were expected to be in there making phone calls. And he didn't just set us off with phone calls. He said, here's the script. You don't make the calls before you learn the script. And I've really stuck to some of the stuff that I learned there with scripting. And now that you have a scripting class for us, that's super cool too. And that's a piece that I felt like, if we want to be the people that the people trust, right? we have to educate ourselves and be a higher level than the other people that are making the phone calls to them, because they might get 10 phone calls that day, and we have to be exceptional.
Oh, absolutely. This is where I go back to everybody that's kind of running and squirmish and like losing their mind right now and trying to figure out, oh, what do I need to do? How do I need to get through this market? Here we go, people. This is it. There's three things I tell everybody. It's skill sets. Number one, first and foremost, it's skill set, right? The best skilled person will survive anything and will make their way through anything. I always, it's funny. This is a sidebar because I got squirrels, but I always go back to that movie, Troy. You ever watched Troy?
Yes.
Brad
Yeah, of course, Brad Pitt.
Right?
Yeah.
What a great story. And what always goes back to my mind is the moment where, remember when they were going to battle and that humongous giant comes out and nobody wanted to confront the giant guy because he was so intimidating to anybody. I mean, he'd be intimidating to me. But here comes Brad Pitt. They go call for Brad Pitt, right? Go get Brad Pitt. He comes running his horse, gets off. And I mean, he was half the size of that guy, maybe even a fraction of that size. But who ended up winning that battle? And he had complete confidence, right? Complete confidence in himself because he was the most skilled individual in that situation. He knew exactly what to do. He had zero issues against that guy who was 3 times his size. So my point in saying that is, I bring this back. This is about becoming really fine-tuned with your skills, being so good at it. It's second nature. Like you walk up to that and have zero doubt in your mind that you are going to conquer that listing presentation, that you are going to get that listing. They're going to conquer this buyer consult problem, and you're going to get them in over 30 other offers, right? It's being skilled. So thank you for saying that because I want to get that in the air. I'm tired of everybody talking about, oh, what do I need to buy? What thing can I get? Or what seminar I need to go to? Back to basics.
Well, back to relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate, we've over automated everything. We were talking about this. We've over automated ourselves out of a job, right? Real estate is meant to be relationship based.
Mm-hmm.
The sending money to Zillow so that you have internet leads calling you and they're selling us our leads back. Those people aren't loyal. Those people don't give you, like, if you want to create loyalty, spend all the money that you are spending on Zillow and put that back out to your sphere and your past clients. Those are the people that already know, like, and trust you. Mm-hmm. They are the people who want to see you succeed. Go ahead and put that money back on them. It will come back to you, I promise. We've actually changed our whole marketing plan this year to go back to sphere and past clients 100%. And stop giving money to the internet.
100%. I mean, I want to compare this, not like I've ever been on it, but if you want to look at like dating apps, let's be honest, right? Like a Tinder app or one of these apps are out there.
On a dating app either.
Right? I just say, people who talk about that, who've been in that kind of game, let's just say.
Right? Yeah, it is though. It's like the difference between a blind date that your sister sets up on you because she really knows, likes, and trusts this guy versus this guy on the internet.
Yep.
Who you may or may not wake up with a kidney in the morning.
Right. Literally. I mean, the guy, basically the two people are connected precisely because of the looks. Because when you're on the internet, it's nothing else. You don't get a chance to know somebody's personality on the internet through pictures. It's the visualization, and that's what's attraction, and that's what starts off everything, which is, I'm not going to deny that's going to be a huge, compelling piece, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But in all reality, the lasting relationship is the ones that are deep-rooted and created and built on those things that they know, like, and trust about you. And you're only going to get that by actually doing the relationship. That's the key, people, doing the relationship. So you date them, you take them out, you wine and dine them, you show them who you are, and you show them who you really are.
And I always say, like, we want to take care of all of our past clients and all of our sphere, but find out who your raving fans are, because we usually have about 5 of those around us. I could name off 3 names right now, like that and how, where I've worked with the mom, the daughter, all the family, right? And the one person connected you to all of them. That one, those get the special bonuses. They don't just get a pie at Thanksgiving, they get a nice Christmas gift too, right? So they're not just doing pot buys. These are the people that find your 5. Because those 5, Chris, my very first open house that I did, I met one person. He sold a house with me, bought an investment property with me, and then him and his business partner bought a motel. Right? His business partner, I've done 13 transactions with. So from one open house, there has been 16 transactions over a course of, 8, 9 years. It's really about just getting out in the community. That wasn't Zillow. That Zillow didn't do that. An open house for a fellow office mate did that.
That's crazy, right? When you think about those averages, those aren't even those are off the charts. Like 16 transactions. And how much did it cost you, by the way, to do the open house? Just curious, I mean.
This was back in the day whenever I still did food and everything, so it might have cost me $40, Chris.
Okay, $40 one time. You bought some goodies and some snacks and some waters, right? And the reality is, you probably still, let's be honest, you probably still would have gotten that client even if you had not stopped at the store and bought all the goodies and snacks. If you didn't spend the $40, right?
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Those
like
snacks.
You said, it wasn't about the snacks. It wasn't about the pretty packaging. It was about the skill set and the knowledge.
Totally. So let's go back a little bit quick. I'm talking about your journey to real estate.
How I got in, right?
Yeah. How did you get into real estate? You talked a little bit about Keller Williams when you started off.
Yes.
Like, when did you start real estate, and kind of maybe what were you doing before?
Oh gosh.
That got you into that.
If you ask my father, he would tell you that my real estate journey started whenever I was 12 and our house burnt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I realized what it was like to not have a home at that point. And I realized very much that home is more than bricks. It's more than the stones. It's more than the roof. It's the memories that we feel inside the home. So I feel like because of that experience, I look at it just a little differently than somebody just selling a house instead of selling a dream. Right. So my dad would have told you then. That was whenever I got started in real estate. I really wanted to be an attorney, Chris. I went straight to the Air Force out of high school. I signed up to do flying cryptological linguist because I knew my parents did not have the money for any kind of school, much less a law school, right?
Wow.
I came from very meager means, and whenever our house burnt, I came from literally less than nothing at that point. It was the kindness of strangers that got us by. So I decided that I would go into the Air Force to pay for school. And whenever I got there, I wound up getting a vaccination and had some issues with my heart. And they ended up sending me home on an entry-level separation for a medical discharge. And I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. So I went to work for an attorney and realized that was awful, but I got a little bit of experience with contract law. And I went to work for an architect, but I just could not draw. So I went back to what I knew, which was promotional modeling. And I traveled the country, traveled the world, got to learn scripts, got to sell products, got to be a spokesperson for cool different cars and do all kinds of things like that. So that really all kind of combined to give me a lot of interesting skill set going into real estate. I had also been bartending because that's how most models make a living, right? Because, once Instagram came along, we didn't really get paid very much.
Right? That messed up. Technology messed up a lot.
Yeah,
right.
It changed. It changed the industry dramatically. And I started dating my now husband. So I had gotten out of the bar. My little one was 5. My youngest stepdaughter was 5 and going to be going to school. So I felt like I had to do something to get out of the house. And Chris, I was never going to be like, I was just going to get out of the house to talk to people. Just maybe I initially was going in to do admin. And I was like, oh, this looks fun. I can do this. So I got my license. I was part of a team, immediately went to a team, started my career with Keller Williams, Great Lakes. And I was like, I'm just going to be a showing agent. So I was opening doors and I'm like, oh, that's kind of silly. I could write this contract. That's not hard. So I got my license in April. I had my first closing. I believe it was right around my birthday. So right near the middle of June. So I was licensed about a month and a half. Yeah. And I had several closings my first year. It was a lot of fun. I was working in an area where the price points were fairly low, and we were doing a lot of the tax reverted properties for the city of East Point. So I was, whenever I say volume, I think there was one year, I think I may have sold like 45 houses, but they were $30,000 houses. So,
okay. That's all right.
Yeah. Right. So it wasn't really necessarily a high income level, but I got to help a lot of families that were in really tight spots, that a lot of them had been pushed away and told, like, one, I don't even know who's going to do a mortgage for $35,000 and it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
And so I dealt with a lot of those people, and I got to write a lot of contracts because there were so many of them, right?
Yeah.
And so it taught me how to write contracts fast. It taught me how to deal with a lot of different situations and scenarios for writing contracts also. So even though a lot of people kind of give me the upturned nose whenever I say I was selling $35,000 houses, that's my experience, right? Because I know that everybody deserves a home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, I'm really proud. I'm going to be part of our fair housing committee this year, and that
Nice.
same area where I started working. I never left that board because I just feel so attracted to the people there, and I wanted excuses to see them and hang out. Keller Williams was great for my first learning in real estate. The Ignite program was good. I took Bold,
Yeah.
3 times. It They had a lot of high level training. It was great. I was part of the ALC.
Oh,
I was not only drinking the Kool-Aid, Chris.
you
I
did
was
it all. You were ALC too. I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
I did. I was ALC my 3rd year in, and I did it for a couple of years. And like I
Nice.
said, I love servicing agents, so I really enjoyed teaching, and I learned so much more from
Yeah.
teaching other people than I did just doing it myself.
100%. 100%.
So that was amazing. And then, go ahead.
So curious, what year? Okay, so let's put this in a timeline. Kind of. So what year was that you started at KW?
2014.
2014. Okay. So within like a month and a half, that first year in 14, you pretty much started launching your business. You did really well. And I want to say real quick here, like, I think that connection, and maybe I'm wrong off beat here, but I feel like that connection you have there with those people, because you were doing $35,000 deals, and most people would probably walk away from that. That's like us over here trying to do a mobile home. It's like, we're not touching that, right? With a 10-foot pole. But I think, again, I want to go back to where I love your story, man, at the beginning. I didn't know that about you. You're like, holy moly, you lost your home at 12. And that was a real pivotal point that really, I think, mentally.
My parents, it split them up. They got divorced. So not only do we lose the house, lose the dog, lose the family.
Lose the family. So you've got some serious, like, I'd say not PTSD, but some real solid points, right, of in your life that were so prominent that you realized that you were going to do something completely different, but yet the same. And the same I mean is that you didn't leave that spirit of who you are as a person at 12 or 13, right?
Yeah. No. And I'll even say then that experience taught me so much. A lot of people would have seen losing your house and losing everything as a real negative. But I will say at the time, I was very materialistic. I had the pool, I had the Barbies, I had all the clothes, I had the everything. But I didn't really have a very good sense of who I was.
Yeah.
And I went through this twice because whenever I went to the Air Force, there again, you strip away everything. You're not even a first name at that point. So it's very easy to look at who you are as a person whenever you don't have any stuff surrounding you. And you get to really get to the core of who you are. And what that taught me was some of the people that we were friends with turned their backs on us because we didn't have as much anymore. And they were only there for the good time. And we had strangers that came out of the woodwork that have become lifelong friends that helped us through everything. And I promised my mom at that moment that, because I knew it wasn't when I had this position as an adult and I could help people in this situation, that I would always do it. Always.
Absolutely. And you're honoring that and living to that to this day.
I really try so hard. I picked up a new organization that I'm doing stuff with this year. I've donated clothes to them in the past, but I had never donated time. And that's Macomb Foster Closet. I feel like these kids are very much in the situation that I was in. They weren't asked to be put there. You know, it was their parents' decisions that kind of put them in the situations that they were in. And they just needed a little extra help and a little extra love. Macomb Foster Closet provides foster kids, kinship, kids that have been emancipated, so they're living on their own, or people who have adopted from the foster program. They let the kids come in and shop.
Yeah.
Chris, my first experience seeing a kid shop, I realized at that moment, it's not about a t-shirt. It's not about a t-shirt. This article of clothing is allowing them to find a sense of identity, a sense of who they are, and a sense of self.
Yeah.
And that to me was just something so powerful.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, I get to help with this.
That's awesome.
I love it. I'm like, I've been the last 2 weeks and I'm like, I'm hooked. I can't wait to go back. I'm like, is it Monday yet? But that's the way that I feel like is an immediate need that I can give back to a kid like somebody gave to me, and
Hmm.
I can help them and hopefully help them so that whenever they're my age, they're doing the same thing. They're either giving back at the local level, they're giving back with money, or they're finding ways to give.
Yeah.
Because if you give to givers and if you give to these kids that are in these volatile situations and make them turn into givers, man, that's how we're going to make the world a better place.
Oh my God, 100%. I think a lot about yesterday when I think that's why now going back to Casey Council's team meeting with the context and the word that was so powerful to you and to a
Yes.
lot of people that were on that call yesterday, I think, and for me as well, like I think everywhere we talked about that, everybody had a value word that was kind of oriented and driven towards kind of what you're talking about, right? It's
Yeah.
being selfless, it's being, getting down to the grit, it's focusing, it's everything that everybody was talking about, having faith. These words are powerful. Now you are coming from that too, from a place of service, which now
Yes.
I really now hearing your story. So I didn't even know your story the other day at the team meeting, but now I'm hearing your story, your background, like it makes even more sense and extreme more powerful to the fact of where you're from a place of servitude and contribution.
Well,
Um,
I feel like I did inherit that.
yeah.
My grandparents were both very involved with the community via the Lions Club, their churches, the VFW. My mom also was very involved in the community as well, and constantly donates time. So it was definitely very much ingrained in our family upbringing. And
Yeah, totally. So that's great balance though. And I guess one thing that's missing in this world today is balance
yes,
because you're way extreme. And I'll attest to a lot of parents, and I think it's kind of situational that a lot of people are where they're at today in life, kids, adults, whatever, relationships, husband and wives, it's where it's at. And that's like a whole nother conversation. But the reality is we're now dealing with a situation where a lot of these people were either overcompensating and giving so much to the point we're creating a
monsters.
monster, spoiled, entitled, non appreciative, lack of energy, lack of drive, lack of direction, lack of motivation, right?
It's
And
crazy
then,
how they're given so much and still live in a place of so much scarcity. That's what
right,
I don't understand is how with so much abundance does your mindset still shift to that scarcity? Whereas you have other kids who are given so much scarcity that can find the abundance within it, you know?
totally. Well, I think it's that everybody has a story. Like I mentioned the other day on one of my reels, like everybody has a story. We can match them all day long. And it's the difference of whether we let that story or that past life define our present and define our future. But the truth is, like I lived my entire life out of scarcity. Scarcity of where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? Because I was on my own, fending for myself. So well, there was none of that entitlement. There was none of that ability to be lazy. There was none of that ability to be like lack of motivation because I was driven from scarcity. And then I had to now struggle in my adult life. I'll tell you my struggle now. My struggle life is to actually think from abundance because I was wired from a childhood of scarcity and growing up. That abundance to me, it's something I have to put in my head every day, like consciously. It doesn't, I don't wake up that way. I got to constantly, whereas you, coming from your environment, you were also kind of a little bit kind of into a scarcity set because you were, jumped around and have so many situations in your life happen that it was hard for you to think for abundance for a while too. It wasn't like you were thinking abundance every day when you woke up,
I
right?
think
So,
for me, for a while, I was just in the cope. Just how can I just cope with day-to-day life? I did suffer for some time with substance abuse.
mm,
In my 20s, I drank a lot. And then I just, that was the coping skill that I saw, right?
mhm, yep.
And then one day I just decided that wasn't working. And I also, whenever I started dating my now husband, I had these two beautiful pairs of eyes that were watching my every move,
Mhm,
and they deserved a role model. And
yeah,
if I didn't see one around that I thought was good enough for them, I decided that I was going to become that.
right.
I was going to build myself into that woman that they would want to
Be
admire,
some right, aspire to be.
you know, have someone to look up to. Um, and be a strong leader and do that with grace though,
Yeah, yeah,
because so often you can be a woman and you can be a leader and you can do it without being mean. A lot of times, like women, because they see us and they think we're delicate and fragile. So a lot of times the mentality is, well, if I put on this big tough, then people won't walk on me, or that people won't try to push me around, or they won't try to bully me or anything like that. And I do the exact opposite. I just put myself out there, and if you like me, that is great. And if you don't like me, that is okay too, friend. Like, I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Some people just have bad taste.
Yeah, exactly. I like it like that. Some people just have bad taste. If they really had good taste, I would be their cup of tea. I love it. That's a great way of thinking that, though.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and the truth is, I feel like I don't think the world was ever designed, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, I don't think the world was ever designed for everybody to like you. I think there's something wrong with that. Like, to have everybody in the world, like if I look at celebrities, sports players that are idolized, and they could walk on the street and everybody, for the most part, would love that person, right? Like, and it's like, that's like not normal. There's something wrong with that.
So I have a question though. What are we taught to do in school? We're taught to get along with everybody. We're taught that you have to be nice to everybody. I think that honestly, they should also tell people, like, here's how you behave around people that you might not have the same connection with, that you might not necessarily be friends with, but you don't have to make them your enemy, That's a conversation that would be wonderful to be had in schools too, because I think especially now with kids, they're experiencing some different stuff than we had to when we were growing up. The bullying doesn't just happen at school, it goes home on social media. So again, I think being kind and just really teaching them how to not only deal with the people that they like, but the people that they might butt heads with sometimes. And same thing in real estate. You're not going to like every agent that you work with. You're not going to like every client that you work with in the same way, but you still have to be able to treat people with a manner of respect and integrity and care that, they're not all going to be your best friend. They still deserve the same level of, service though.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like it's an extreme. It's black or white. It's that you don't like them, and if you don't like them, you need to hate them. It's like that's almost the way society pegs it, right? If you don't like them, you judge them. You hate them, you chastise them.
So, but here's the thing that we do as a society too that I just do not understand is whenever we don't like something, it's not enough for us to just not like it. We have to get the whole party on board with us.
Yes.
Everybody get on my board and my boat of hating this. No, stop. Just keep that to your, you cannot like them over here and just not have to get everybody rallied with that. So I'd also like to see.
Yeah, well, they say misery loves company. The reality is that's a great way to encourage and spread fear, anger, hate. It's designed to be spread like COVID. I mean, okay, right, but like stuff, right? This stuff gets spread very quickly by human interaction and interfacing with humans. So awesome. So now we're looking at you going almost 9 years now in real estate. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you've had. I mean, it hasn't been all probably butterflies and kisses. I mean, you're doing a lot of transactions in the $30,000 range. Have you accelerated and progressively grown into other areas?
So I mean, my average price point now is about $315, but I will still go back. I had one of those original families from my very first year. They purchased a home with me. It was my very first VA client, and they were my first listing ever. Their son reached out to me. I need to buy a house, and I don't even know if you will help me because it's probably not even going to be $100,000. Like, I care. Like, your house that I sold before was $43,000, friend. Like, you bought a house for more than the house that you grew up in. I say kudos, congratulations.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, I do still take the higher price points. That's what most of my my business is now. I also do commercial as well as residential. Nice. So I always do at least a couple of those a year just to keep my brain thinking and jumping through all of the fun 47 hoops, because those are so much more complex. And I love residential and all the fun stuff that can bring. And I love the brain challenge of a good commercial.
Absolutely. So that's just another. So you, what are some of the things like have you been a part of the Blake team the entire, so you're KW and after KW, where were you at?
Yeah. So I was with KW. The way that I met Mike Blake was with my prior team leader.
Mm.
He had invited us to an EXP Explained event. I was like, yes, this is so cool. I just bought Mana for Decentraland and they have their own metaverse. I want to be part of this.
Love it.
And obviously, guessing by the fact that I am no longer with that team, that is not how things went.
Hey, life takes us on a journey.
No, it does. So they ended up going with a local boutique brokerage, which I will not name because I don't want to be rude. But the level of service was definitely not what I was used to at Keller Williams. Whenever I went for my first closing, I had requested a conference room. Whenever I got there with my 13 transaction guy, somebody had the door locked and we had to close on a front desk out in the middle of everything. And I was mortified. It was that moment that I knew that I was not going to be there for very long. And I let my team leader at the time know. I said, I will give you 1 year from this date to either sink or swim. You know, we got to make the boat either get going on a good track, but this is your ship. It's not my ship. And the captain goes down with the ship, not the crew. And I was looking at where we were in that space, and he kept giving me higher splits and more money and just stick around, just we'll make it work. And I called him and I asked if we could sit down. And I love Gary. I do. He's such a great person, such a great friend. And whenever I called him and I walked in, he goes, I know that you're coming to tell me. I just want to know, like, who are you talking to? And can I help you pick? Because I want to make sure that you go somewhere where I trust that you will be taken care of. If you're not with me, I just want to make sure you're good, you know? And again, I keep coming back to KW. I talked to Keller Williams Lakeside. I love those people. I did my bowl classes with them. I trained with them. After I left Keller Williams, I would still go over and train with them. It wasn't even the office I started out of. But he didn't want me to go back to the original office that I was with because there had been some things that happened with them, not with me. I was still fine with everybody, but to honor his wishes. And I also told him I was meeting with Mike Blake. And he was like, oh man, I really like Blake. He seems like a really good dude. Like, I know you love KW, but you've already done KW and you really wanted to go to EXP before. So why don't you can always go back to KW, right? Yeah. So I joined EXP in March of, wait for it, wait short, 2020.
Oh, the best year ever. I was actually, March was the kickoff of really COVID though, right?
It was. March. So I signed up and literally, I don't even think I was completely finished with all of my sign up stuff with EXP getting it all done when we went into lockdown.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing ever. I was so glad I had moved to EXP because guess what? I was still in the world training. I was learning how to use everything there and it was great. Yeah. So I guess if you're gonna have a total lockdown for a couple of months, at least you're in an organization that has their own metaverse. That's all I gotta say, you know?
That's it. Like, yep. You gotta have integration still. We did not stop at all to that year.
It was so
flourished.
I had a listing that had gone live. Somebody had viewed it. They were sending over the offer and they did the shutdown. We had accepted their offer. And I'm like, called her. I was like, listen, we don't know what is essential or what is not essential. My client has given me permission to to allow you to have the inspector go in and give him the lockbox code if you do not feel like you are essential. Let's get it done. We closed the deal. So we actually closed and at the of course, none of us were there. It was just the buyer and the seller. I was sitting in my car outside, like
like a weirdo. We were acting all weird back then. Like seriously,
so awkward, you know.
So 2020, you were officially at EXP now.
Yep. So it's been almost 3 years now.
3 years now, because we're in January, so February, March. March will be 3 years for you.
Yeah, I'll be getting my first vesting soon.
I know. There we go. I love that. That's exciting news too. If people don't know what that means, we'll talk about that in a minute here. But yeah. So do you see a transition? Let's talk about it. I mean, this is a great segue. It's a great segue because I'm glad we're talking about this. Obviously this is about EXP2, our Team Freedom Group. I am part of EXP. I've been with EXP for 6 years now, and there's absolutely zero doubt in my mind that I made the best choice in my life. I've been in this industry for 21 years. I've ran Keller Williams. I had my own company, so I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to identifying a company and what it can or cannot offer. And I'll tell you right now, if you're listening in this podcast right now and you're thinking, oh my gosh, no, EXP hands down is the best real estate model to date in the history ever of real estate. I'm sorry. And you can call me on this line. I'll give you my phone number if you want to debate this, because I will over debate you about it 100 times and you won't win. Just I'll leave that there. But so now you're here.
Yes.
Where do you see? I mean, you talked about a few things. You hit on a few buttons. Like you wanted to be a part of the metaverse. You wanted to. That was part of your thing. I feel like yours. So where do you see now? 3 years almost. We're going to cap on 3 years. Your change, your business, if any at all. Your change on your thoughts, your vision, your ideas, anything that you can think that would assimilate a change to EXP and made it better. Or be honest with us. If it made it worse, be honest with us. Maybe it made it worse. And just,
It definitely made it better. So I actually was one of those people, and you were too, I remember, that had some issues with COVID. So I wasn't able to work for a while, and I still made as much money as I did the year before.
Right.
I'm not gonna say that that's all EXP, but it is partially our teams and the systems and everything that we have in place, where I could call and go on a listing appointment really easily, and I would just pick up my information. What I think the biggest thing, and not so much what it's done, but this year right now. Right now, they're anticipating that our business is going to be down 40% this year. It doesn't matter how you cut the cloth. There's going to be lower price points. There's going to be less transactions. So what's really, really important is being able to find the way to make those connections, making the calls, getting out in front of people. The KV Core platform to me is still, I'm a raving fan. I'm probably the biggest fan of KV Core on Mike's team also. I make calls daily. I made 10 calls today. I set one appointment yesterday. I made 42 calls. I set one of our teammates in Florida with a buyer because she's already moved down to Florida and her lease is up in September. But she is a prospective agent. Her son has a license in holding here in Michigan. So not only do we maybe have a buyer, we also maybe have 2 agents to bring in and share the work with also. And it's all just from making the calls. So last year, I might have made 20 calls a day. This year, I'm going to make 30 because if I know the business is cutting down, if I just do 50% more, instead of having my business slow down, I'm actually hoping to do $1 million more this year. My kids are a little bit older. I have a little bit more freedom. They can drive.
Yeah.
Well, drive them.
That's
a game changer.
Oh, so, freedom.
Yeah, exactly. It's freedom. So I think that really the KV Core is one of the most amazing tools that we have at EXP to help for lead generation production. And again, like we were talking about, those sphere people, that's how you stay in connection with them too. These are not just internet leads to get fed on from Facebook or anything. You can put your personal people in there too to make sure that they're staying top of mind. It is such a great tool. You can set up campaigns to where you have auto drip. It'll tell you when you need to call them. You can send out invitations that way. You can target market for people looking in a specific area at a certain price point if you're doing an open house. And another thing that a lot of my leads that are in KV Core came from doing open houses. That was a huge part of how I built my business, was with mega open houses. I would go around, I would door knock at least the 50 closest neighbors. If it was in a big enough subdivision, I would do 100. I would use Bressers. I would call them 3 days after I had dropped off the invitation just to make sure that they had seen it. I would call them the day before just to remind them that it was coming up. And then I would call them after to thank them. So that way I would get 4 touches real quick. And I can't tell you how many listings and buyers I've gotten from doing the open house, where it's very purposeful. And because you can't just do an open house, right? You do an open house, and if you shove it in the MLS, and if you put a sign in the yard, maybe you get 5 people through. We had about 45 people through this weekend, and I haven't even started door knocking yet because the ground's still frozen.
Jeez.
So just getting really purposeful.
Well, again, I think let's go back to a couple things. When you talked about, I'm going to go back to the part where you said you did the $30,000 things. You did a lot, 40-something deals. You did a lot of contracts. Yes. You got really skilled. So they're number one. I always go back to skills. Skill. The person that has the most skills and the skill set is going to perform well. So you're very skilled in that. You're doing the scripts. You're very skilled in that. you're doing the KB core and very disciplined. You're very skilled in that. So you're doing all the things that require within a recipe to create it. The only thing that would be lacking, if there was, which there isn't, is you just said you're going to do 40 instead of 30. So what typically happens in a scenario of a real estate agent is they just stop the activity. They stop that piece. The execution part starts to lack. You can get all their ducks in a row, but if you don't have execution and activity, you're going to lose that one too. So it sounds like you have all of it in place.
So I would have to say, though, that's part of the tools that have come from not just EXP, but also from within our team. We started something new this year with our greatness tracker that, I mean, it's phenomenal. How many calls did you make? How many appointments did you set? Who did you talk to? Because you know how it is. Whenever you're talking to 200 people a week, it's really easy to forget who that guy was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So not only skill set, but also the accountability piece, track your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you will never be able to figure out your conversion. If you don't know how many calls it takes to get an appointment, how are you ever going to know what you need to do? So that was really the first few years in real estate was all about the tracking and conversions and how many calls does it take to set an appointment? How many appointments does it set to write a contract? How many contracts does it take to get to the closing table?
Absolutely. This is, and that's a great, I'll tell you what, that's a great color way of saying, because we always had to know our numbers. I was a team leader for 3.5 years. So I had to know the numbers for the entire market center for every agent and everybody in our region. So we had 3 different levels of those numbers and measures, which is great because you need to measure. If it's not measurable, it's actually worthless. And I hope people listening right now understand that. If you don't measure, you are really pissing in the wind and you're just getting wet. I'm being honest. Like you're just a raving employee is all you're doing. You're just working a job.
Chris, I'll be honest with you. Whenever I'm not money motivated. I don't know how much money I made last year, but I know how many families I helped.
I love that.
You know, so money was never it for me. My husband makes enough money. He's actually now, he was a robot programmer. Now by me just picking up the production to what I've been able to, he's semi-retired. He just does crypto now.
Whoa.
No, I have the on paper job and he has he works so hard all of his life. Him and I have we came from families that struggled. I had my first job at 12. So did he. We were both on the books by the time we were 15 years old, and we have always worked. So Team Freedom not only gave me freedom, it also gave my family freedom.
I love it.
And I want to thank you for that personally, because I mean, if you hadn't introduced Lona and Doug, if Lona and Doug hadn't introduced Mike, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And it's all of you guys that help us and that guide us and that put us on this bus. So I'm super proud to be part of this. You know what? No, we're going to call it the ship. Yeah. I'm super proud to be part of this ship. I hope that we can be a good crew for you and just make this thing, cruise around the world and pick up as many folks along the way and share this dream with them, because it is, right? Real estate, whether we're selling a home or whether we're bringing people in for a career, this is a dream. This is a dream that we're helping people achieve, whatever that dream looks like for them, whether that's a $35,000 dream or a $3.5 million dream. It's us just helping them achieve that.
I love it. I love the way you think. I love the way you say things and the way your vision, your mind is like the way you articulate it. It's great because it definitely comes from a very humble place, which I can see that in you, which ultimately creates a lot of graciousness and gratitude and love and caring. So again, I would say that, for the fact that we brought on Doug and Lona, who brought on, Mike, and like I said, I would go back to the like attracts like, right?
Yeah.
The very same energy attracts energy. And I want to say across the board, people ask, so how do you, if I look even across my white, like Dylan's another amazing, I love that guy. He's such a service guy. He will give you the shirt off his back. He's humble. And everybody within this organization is the very same way. And, it started off with Shireen. And Shireen has brought in some amazing people who brought in some amazing. So if I want to think about our group as a whole, our Team Freedom is nothing but amazing, loving, caring, true people. And I am extremely beyond grateful for. And just to put this in numbers and not in numbers or whatever you did last night, but I just finished numbers for our Team Freedom for 2022. And as a whole, And I want to account for the fact that we had a pretty crazy fourth quarter in 2022 that really kind of declined a little bit, made some disruptions in people's business. We saw that, obviously. We still ended up closing 1,974 units last year and $1.1 billion in volume. My aspiration for the team in the beginning of 2022 was 2,000 units. So we actually were shy 26 to make what was in my mind what I wanted to reach. But nonetheless, I am like over the moon excited about how we have come together as a community, as a group, as a family, man, and people like yourself, Jacqueline, which I'm so grateful to have you on this call today because I got to hear your real story. And that even makes me more heartfelt about you. And like, you got another special place in my heart. I appreciate it. I love you. I love Mike. Mike's in his own little world. I love Mike for. Mike's a very unique unicorn in himself. And that has a heart of gold. This has his way of showing it. And but yeah, thank you so much. This has been a great 45 minutes of an amazing opportunity and podcast. I hope everybody out there listening to this has got some really good, deep-rooted stuff from Jacqueline because you are an aspiration. And I want to say right now, everybody that's listening in the beginning before we got on this call, Jacqueline was a little bit worried possibly wasn't going to bring some value, but sweetie, you brought some value. You brought tremendous value. I think anybody listening to this is going to see that you are definitely a real, true person, a real, true human in this world. And we're grateful to have you on this planet and be part of our group. So thank you again.
Thank you, Chris. We always aspire to inspire, right? So
yes.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for all you do for Team Freedom and all of EXP.
We're excited. We're going to keep moving the ship down the street or down the ocean, on the street, down the river, or wherever we want to take this ship. It's going to keep going. And you're right. We're going to stop along the way. We're going to pick up a lot of passengers because my goal this year is to change lives as many as we can this year. So we're excited to see what 2023 is going to bring. But keep listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the podcast show today. And as you know, it's a weekly show, Real Talk with Chris, a.k.a. the Japanese Cowboy, with special guests every week. So we're excited to hear from you guys again. And we'll see you all again next week, same time, same channel. Have an amazing rest of your week and a amazing rest of your month.